Awesome. Hi, and today we are here talking with Martha Lewis from Complete Sleep Solutions down in the States, Wyoming, right?
Yes.
What city?
Jackson. Jackson
Jackson,
Hole,
Wyoming.
as people know. Yeah.
Awesome. And so she is a sleep specialist, and we are going to learn all kinds of stuff about why people aren't sleeping, some of the lesser known reasons, some of the more common reasons, and anything else she cares to share about sleep and why it's really important. What? Because I mean, it is, right? So maybe we should start with that. Why is getting enough sleep so important, and how much is enough, really?
Yeah. Well, the long-term risks of not getting enough sleep are many. We're more likely to get a lot of different chronic diseases if you get fewer than 7 hours of sleep a night. So things like, uh, heart disease and depression, Alzheimer's, diabetes, even cancer, all of those, you're at a greater risk when you aren't sleeping.
Yeah,
But I think people care more about how it affects their day-to-day life than
absolutely.
worrying about that long-term scenario. So, I mean, anyone who's been tired knows that it's harder to be in a good mood and be
Hmm.
positive. It's harder to concentrate and focus. It's even harder, though, to be empathetic. So it's going to affect your relationships
Absolutely.
if you aren't sleeping. It's going to
Absolutely.
affect your productivity and your efficiency. So yeah, so it's super important, even for the quality of our day-to-day life, I think, just to feel well and to really perform at your best in whatever facet of your life that is. Yeah, sleep is super important. And
Yeah.
so again, like the recommended amount of sleep is between 7 and 9 hours. So that's a big range, but
Yeah.
a lot of that recommendation is based on these studies that show that getting fewer than 7 is what leads to this increased risk. But really,
Okay.
it's different for everyone. So, some people are fine on 7, 7.5, and others need more of that 8, 8.5. And so it's really, you know, dependent on your body and what you need. And that's going to even change at different points in your life. When we're younger, we need more sleep, and as we age, we need a little less sleep. And if you're more active or sick or whatever, that's going to affect how much sleep you need as well.
Yeah. So what are some of the reasons that people are not sleeping very well or very long?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it has to do with our modern lifestyle, and things have changed so much in just the past couple hundred years. I mean, if you think about it, the light bulb was only invented a little more than a couple hundred years ago, and
Yeah.
that changed everything. And yeah, so now all of a
That's
sudden we're able to
yeah,
be awake or and be doing things not by just oil lamp.
right, right. Which is still hard to see by.
For fire, yeah, for the first time in a
Yeah.
long time. And then at the same time as the light bulb was invented, also the Industrial Revolution happened. And
Hmm.
so that really started this focus on productivity and efficiency. And that's when the 8-hour workday came into play. And
Hmm.
so sleep started being seen as a waste of time. I mean, even Albert Einstein himself thought that sleep was a waste of time. So yeah. So that's really when society's views about sleep changed, is in very recent history. And so so there's kind of the not prioritizing sleep that's happened, and then there's the not being able to sleep. And
Right.
a lot of that has to do with our busyness, our stress, and this now, in the past few decades, the ability to be on screens at any hour of the day or night.
Yeah. Yeah. So how bad are screens for our ability to fall asleep?
Yes, very bad, it turns out. Yeah, screens emit blue light, which tells your brain that it's daytime. And so, yeah, our body clock is really regulated by light. And
Yeah.
so those cues are most important. And so if you are sitting in front of a screen at 10 o'clock, your brain is saying, okay, it's daytime. I'm going to be awake and I'm not going to produce melatonin. And
Yeah.
so it's not time to go to sleep.
Yeah. And melatonin is pretty important as it's the sleep hormone, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, really essentially I think your whole hormone cycle could be affected by the lights and the not, the sleeping less hours, right? Just throws everything out of whack.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So what are some of the lesser known reasons why people don't, or are those the lesser known reasons?
Luckily there's been more and more awareness happening about the need for sleep. And, Arianna Huffington from the Huffington Post wrote a book, The Sleep Revolution, after her experience with collapsing at her desk pretty much from exhaustion. And Dr. Matthew Walker in his book, Why We Sleep. So there's all this awareness now about the importance of sleep, and more studies are being done, which is really cool. So I feel like a lot of the basic information is out there, like if you look up what causes insomnia or how do I deal with insomnia, you're going to learn or read everywhere, like don't look at screens the hour before bed, have a bedtime routine, don't eat too close to bedtime. All those basic things are kind of out there. But what I've learned in my training is that there are some reasons that people don't really know about. So an example of that is a pathogen like a parasite or bacterial overgrowth or fungal overgrowth. Mm-hmm. So it really ties in a lot to gut health. And the reason these creatures disturb your sleep is because they're nocturnal. And so it's at night that they are eating and excreting and releasing toxins and causing inflammation. And anytime there's inflammation, your body releases cortisol, which is an anti-inflammatory hormone. It's also a stress hormone that's only supposed to be released during the day. And so then you're awake. And so that's a really common reason why people wake up at 3 and 4 a.m. and just wake up feeling wired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what can people do about that then?
Well, it is a tricky one. You definitely want to get tested to find out what is happening in your gut, what is living there. And then luckily there are natural herbal ways to treat that, so that you can get rid of that infection, which will get rid of that inflammation, which will help you be able to sleep and also make you much healthier as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know all about inflammation with what I do and how it affects the body, outside of, I mean, you can't say outside of anything because it's all connected, right? Everything happens in the body is connected to something else happening in the body. So yeah, I mean, sleep is everything is affected by inflammation, it seems then, right? Like all these conditions, the root cause is inflammation. And yeah, there are many different ways to address it. And so is there an ideal environment for sleep, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. As far as your bedroom, you want it to be a sleep sanctuary. First of all, you only want to be pretty much sleeping in there. You don't, ideally, you want to be working. You don't want to be watching TV. You don't want to be doing any of those things in your bed or your bedroom even. Yeah. So you want it to just be for sleep. It helps for it to be cool. So 62 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit is the recommendation. You want it to be really dark. Again, any kind of light coming in can suppress melatonin and make it hard to sleep. So having blackout blinds or curtains or something, or wearing an eye mask if it's not possible to block out everything, can really help. You want it to be really neat and clutter free, so that you're walking into a calm space. Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. Sense.
And there's not a ton of research on EMFs and how that affects sleep, but I'm a big believer that can definitely disturb sleep. And some people are more sensitive than others, but turning off your phone at night, putting on airplane mode, turning even off not having Wi-Fi in your room or turning that off at night. Some people really notice a big difference by doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've noticed even in the different hotel rooms and stuff that I've stayed in over the last year or two, there are so many different LED lights in the room. Yeah. Right? Like from the smoke alarm to the television, even when it's not on, there's a light on all the time. And like any switch sometimes will have these LED lights, and they're either orange or blue or green, and it just lights up the entire room, right? So
Totally.
it's almost impossible to make it dark in there. So I guess the sleep mask would be helpful in those cases, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing, and even the switch I've noticed in vehicles to halogen headlights and LED headlights is just, I mean, it looks very different, and it feels like it has a different effect on the eye and on the brain and just on the whole body. So light is, I think light in general is really affecting people and their ability to be able to, to calm themselves enough to be able to sleep. What do you think that's true?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in all these artificial lights all the time. You know, if
Mhm.
you're working in an office or even from home or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
it's not how we evolved, spending all of our
No.
time inside with artificial
Yeah.
lights.
Well,
It's
and when I used to work in an office space, most of the offices had no windows.
right.
They were enclosed cubicles in the middle of the building, right? So there was no natural light and there was no direct fresh air. It
Yeah.
was an HVAC system and all, what kind of lighting is that called again? The name of it's escaping me right now.
I know, I'm
Um,
forgetting too.
yeah, but yeah, I know a lot of people in the office who had worked there for many years just had health problems and just didn't, like it, and they were convinced it was the lighting and the lack of natural, outdoor oxygen, direct, like a direct feed of outdoor oxygen or access to fresh air that was
Yeah.
really affecting people. And so it's, yeah, I mean, so I guess with sleep issues, that's really something to take into consideration. And I mean, really, if you just can't leave your job or your workspace, then make sure you're getting outside enough, right? Would be the solution for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even
Yeah.
just if you
Yeah.
can get sunshine at noon on your lunch break, that will really help keep your body clock in check and help you, get that natural sunlight. That's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what is involved in the assessment process for sleep disorders or people that are just having some trouble sleeping?
Yeah. Well, I'm not working with people with sleep disorders. I
Okay.
suggest that if people have or think, and I'll refer them if I think that they have the signs of sleep apnea or something like that. Like they need to go and get tested for that and treated
Yeah.
for that. And I think
Mhm.
some people are scared of that because they're like, I don't want to wear a CPAP machine. And it's like,
Who
if you
would?
knew how much this was affecting your health to have this problem and not address it, like
Yeah.
you might as well go find out at least and find out what your options.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So
I believe that there are ways to address it without having to resort to a CPAP machine. I mean, if you need to initially, then great. But I also feel like, and I've talked with a couple of people, actually a fellow therapist, a friend of mine who has been on a CPAP machine, and he's, I mean, he just turned 40, so he was not even that old, and he's needing it already. But he was able to use it and benefit from it, and then he was able to come off it because he could breathe fine after. So he
awesome.
seems to think that, yeah, that it was just a matter of resetting his system and allowing everything to just kind of relax and heal, and then he was fine. And then he really made some health changes, of course, and just changes in his lifestyle, which most people need to do anyway. But these are the signs, right, that something is not going right in the body. So yeah, I mean, the CPAP doesn't have to be an inevitability for the rest of your life, but you have to be willing to change other things, I think, too. So
Yeah, definitely.
so
Exactly.
yeah, so you don't deal with sleep disorders necessarily, so it's just insomnia. What specifically is the thing that you do intervention for?
Yeah. So it's, a lot of people I work with have been struggling to sleep for a really long time. And so they've already
Okay.
done a lot of other things. They've done the sleep study. Maybe they've gone to their doctor, they're on sleeping pills.
Mhm.
So it's normally, a lot of people I work with have trouble falling asleep, and everyone I work with has trouble staying asleep. So they're waking
Yeah.
up, and some people as early as 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or whatever it is, and just not able to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And so for me, so I have a couple different programs, like, the the one is the basics, where I'm looking at everything holistically, their lifestyle, their habits. There's, we talk about stress, we look at diet and exercise, we look at sleep hygiene, and so that's, that's kind of starting with the basics. But
Yeah.
some of the people I work with, they already know all that stuff. They practically know as much about sleep as I do, but they still aren't sleeping. And so to me, if you're already following all those rules and doing everything you can and you still aren't sleeping, then there's something going on in your body that is keeping you from sleeping. And so it's just a matter of figuring that out.
Mhm.
And so that's where like the lab testing comes into play, where I'm looking at gut health and hormones and thyroid and even your mineral status and getting back into balance.
Yeah.
Because I see insomnia is just how some people manifest being out of balance. And so there's something else going on that's causing it.
Yeah. So what is sleep hygiene? I heard you say that term and I've never actually heard that before.
Oh, gotcha.
So can you...
Yeah, that's like the staying away from screens. It's
Okay.
having a routine. It's
Right.
looking at your bedroom, things like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So anything else you want to share with us about sleep or things that we can do? What's maybe the one thing that we can change that might make a difference for most people?
Yeah. Well, I have two things that I can think of, because another reason that we don't know about that can wake you up in the night is being on a blood sugar roller coaster. So not keeping your blood sugar levels steady. And so that happens anytime you eat, especially refined carbohydrates, refined sugars, sweet drinks, things like that. They're going to spike your blood sugar and then it's going to crash. And then you're on this roller coaster. And if you're on that roller coaster all day, then you're going to continue on that roller coaster at night. And when your blood sugar drops too low in the night, guess what? Your body's stressed, it releases cortisol, and you're awake. So, that is something you can do, you can look at, is managing your blood sugar levels throughout the day and not eating like ice cream before bed at night or something
or
sugary,
anything else sweet.
yeah, that people tend to like. So that's just a quick reason people don't talk about, but that is something fixable on your own.
Yeah.
And and
if
another
you can
thing,
give up the sugar.
right?
Yeah. Which can be a whole other battle, really, for some people.
Well, exactly. And those cravings can be caused from what's going on in your gut and everything else. So it's all connected, but just something to keep in mind. And and then also my advice for everyone too is, if you aren't sleeping, I recommend actually getting out of bed. So we want your brain to have this really strong association between bed equals sleep. And for people who have not been sleeping for a while, their brain has lost that association. And it equates, I lie awake for long periods of time in bed. So so if if it's been like 10 to 20 minutes and you haven't been able to sleep, then I suggest getting up, going and doing something relaxing, not on screens, of course. And then 10 or 20 minutes later, when you start to feel sleepy, then get back in bed. And again, if you don't fall asleep pretty quickly, then get up again and keep doing that. It's really hard to do, but it's a game changer. Like, it was a game changer for me. It's been a game changer for many of my clients, and you'll actually fall asleep faster if you do that. So that would be my recommendation.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all your great information, and we will pop your website or your contact information in the post with this. So if people are interested in learning more, then they can get in touch with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Shane. It was good talking to you.
No problem. Yeah, maybe we'll do this again.
All right. Sounds good. I like it. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks.